Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. I can't tell you, I'm so impressed with everything that's been said. This has really been quite an important time. Thank you so much all for coming. I know there are relatives, guests, patients, and I appreciate how much all of this shows how much you cared for Eli. The first thing I want to do is I really want to give Harriet a special thank you. I couldn't say it as well as David just did. Over the last 21 years, Harriet did so much. In the final years, there was a very heavy burden. Dad was severely disabled, and he did so remarkably well despite all these problems. He was able to go wherever he wanted to go. Harriet was so good with the van and the wheelchair and all the accoutrements that were required, bringing water and oxygen and all the other things that needed to be done. And as a hospital-based physician, I see sick people all the time. And gosh, they don't get the kind of care that he had. And I think Harriet's love and devotion, attention to his particular needs, put at least 10 years of life on him, that he would not have had it not been for Harriet. Harriet, thank you so much. You know, when you have a situation like this, it's a shame that the person who we're talking about isn't here, you know, because it would be nice for him to have be present and hear what people are saying to him. But fortunately, about 8 years ago, there was a gathering for his 80th birthday, which was kind of a big deal. It was called Eli's Big 80, and some of you were there, and you remember that that was an event that he really enjoyed, and the reason why he enjoyed it was because he got to see how much all these same people cared about him. You know, we've been talking about Dad today. People liked him because he was, when he talked with them, he was bright, observant, focused on the individual who he was engaged in talking to. But his personality did change over the years. And I think that part of that change was the infirmities that he started to suffer. He had so many things going on, so many medications. He had lists of things. He had a whole schedule of the day of taking care of his lungs. He spent about 3 or 4 hours a day keeping himself in a form intact so that he could go to the various social events. But I think that he had to have some patience with himself because of this, and I think that helped him be more patient with other people, and I think that just only furthered his likability. So a few remembrances. I remember my memories that I now keep started in about 1952. We lived on the South Side. And Richard was born on the South Side in a hospital, but we lived on Cornell. That was before, for those of you Chicago people, that was before the Chicago Skyway was here. I remember seeing steam engines going along the tracks that now go along the Skyway. In 1954, we moved to Biloxi, Mississippi. We spent a couple of years there, and we did our best to make the time comfortable. We got our first air conditioner there. There were a lot of firsts. We then came back to Chicago in April of 1956, and Dad practiced medicine either in person or on the phone until April of 2010. So that was continuous practice of 54 years. And in the early days, as we've heard, Dad was very proud of his accomplishments and was involved in the heyday of psychotherapy and analysis in the United States. And for 33 years until Tina died, he was very devoted to his practice. But Tina's death was a sentinel event, and we've heard other people say the same thing. Things changed after that. Looking at his life as perspective of a middle-aged person myself, I commend him on many of the decisions that he made for my brother and myself in our formative years. This again has been discussed. One example is the one that's already been talked about, which is my father's forbidding me to become a football player as a freshman. I'm the same size now that I was then, and so I would have made a good lineman, but I probably might have had broken bones or hips or having some kind of dementia had he allowed me to go out. Thank you, Dad, for not letting me go play football. So perhaps the most important decision that he made for us as children was the idea of having education. And again, this has been discussed, but he made sure that all of us, the children and the grandchildren, were able to go as far as they could in school. And some of us have taken good advantage of that, including myself. And he did this, he lived rather frugally so that he could do this and build a nest egg for himself if he became infirmed and for his family. So during, Eli was so resilient, even in the time when he was getting ill. He was really in good health. If you've had a chance to see the pictures until the 1990s, but he suffered a lot in the last few years. And I think, as I've said already, I think it did help him become more patient, more understanding, and humble with his losses. He carried on in adversity. He had a profound love of life and found a way of getting pleasure out of circumstances that I think other people just would have given up on. He was in character until the very last. I made 2 emergency visits down to see him during his last 6 weeks. I talked with him about 10 days before he died. He was with his beloved caretaker, Teresa, and he was making the usual jokes. We were discussing what I thought about what was going on with Obama, but the oil spill hadn't happened yet, so we didn't know about that. In the middle of the conversation, Amanda called me, and Amanda's our local politician, and we talked for a moment, and Dad said he wanted to say hello. So I held the cell phone up to his ear, and he asked her when she was going to run for president. So she dryly replied that she thought she'd wait until Obama was going to leave office, whereupon Dad started to do his usual belly laugh. So all of us here, these are some of my memories, but when you have a well-rounded person who's a subject of discussion, everyone has their own ideas about what he means to you. But Eli was so many things. He was an intellectual, a lover of symphony, lover of opera, the stage, a physician, a local philanthropist, teacher of physicians, social workers, a husband, father, and grandfather. And each one of us saw something different. But I think there is a core central personality, and the central theme was a love of life, and later expressed as his will to live. Fascinated by the visual and oral works and relating them to his Freudian analysis, he was interested in stories of personal interaction of any type and sought out many venues to satisfy this curiosity. His analysis and understanding of these films, plays, and situations were always profound and insightful.